here's your next question. Hey, thanks. Oh, good one. Chris, how do you keep yourself motivated to actually get out there and practice? Yeah, now see, this is a good question, and it's one that I'm not going to lie, I struggle with myself. I notice that I tend to fall into the common mental trap of this. Gosh, between my life as a teacher, my professional life, between the responsibilities of being part of a family, having a wife and child, between that and other organizations that I'm involved in, and the fact that also I like to exercise, run, lift weights, that kind of thing. At the end of a week, it just doesn't feel like there's much time left to practice. And so I often find myself this close to falling into the mental trap of, there's so little time to practice, it's just hardly even worth getting out there and trying to run 5 clubs. Make yourself the following promise when you are feeling like you don't have the motivation to get out there and practice. Tell yourself this much: I will go out and force myself to practice for at least 10 minutes. And then you know what? Make this bargain with yourself. If after 10 minutes you're still just really not feeling it, well then go ahead, hang it up, go home. But here's what I find that 9 out of 10 times, 99 out of 100 times happens for me. I come out here, I'm kind of like grumbling about, I'm going to run around 10 minutes, I'll go ahead and do it. And then honestly, usually it's like an hour and a half later, I'm then hanging up the clubs. Because it's that first sort of step, that first hurdle. You just got to get out there and do it. And then when you're actually in the moment, all those thoughts about not wanting to do it, not feeling like it was worth it, suddenly a lot of those go by the wayside. Also, I think it's important to try to find ways to make your practice not feel stale. That's why I have those 3 different goals that I talked about. Some days I'm feeling like working on a trick I've never got before. Some days I want to come out and just to keep it interesting, I'll want to work on that basic pattern. And sometimes I'll want to work on perhaps developing a new routine, whether or not I'm actually going to show it to somebody else or not. So having some variety, I think, is really, really important. One of the ways that I try to mix things up, perhaps for my own sake, is I try to give myself different challenges. So you might be familiar with my videos from years ago. I tried the CT Juggles challenge, which is where I tried to nail as many tricks successfully as possible in 5 minutes. Another one that I've recently come up with is what I call the 4x90 challenge. And this I find to be a really, really kind of interesting and difficult way to practice any particular trick or even a whole routine that you want to be able to show and master in front of other people. The 4x90 challenge works this way. Take whatever trick it is that you want to have down solid, even if it's a whole routine, and you first do that particular trick facing forward. So I'll do that trick successfully, clean finish. Then I will turn to the right, and I will try the exact same trick again, trying to nail it cleanly and successfully. Then I'll turn to the right again, 90 degrees, and I'll now be facing, of course, what I perceive as the back stage, behind me. And I will try once again to nail that trick successfully and cleanly. And then finally, I'll do another rotation of 90 degrees to the right, winding up looking to what was my left. And I'll try to nail that trick successfully and cleanly a 4th time. Now, what's interesting about this and what makes it a challenge is that your ability to perceive the props kind of shifts as your light in the space changes. It also feels different and becomes a little bit more challenging because the space around you changes. So I don't have as much room to move forward to nail a trick, obviously when I turn to the right or obviously when I'm facing behind me. So when I make those 4 changes, just rotating my body 90 degrees 4 times, it changes the feel of the trick And if I can say that I've done that successfully 4 times in a row, then I feel pretty good that I could do that in front of an audience. If I really want to make myself angry, I'll insist that I can do it 2 complete rotations around. But that again is just an example of something that I might do to try to keep myself feeling motivated and try to keep my practice sessions feeling different and interesting enough that I want to come in and practice. Two questions this time. Thanks. What's your opinion on music, Chris? Yeah, look, music is real important to me during a practice session. Music is what keeps me motivated. I notice that if I have kind of an upbeat piece of music, it helps me keep my energy up. So I definitely think that music is an important and appropriate part of practice. There is maybe only one exception to that. On occasion, if I'm working on a trick where the cadence or the beat of that particular trick has a definite pattern to it. For example, ball bouncing, or for example, side swaps. Side swaps and ball bouncing certainly have, depending on the trick, a certain rhythm and a certain kind of cadence to it. So what I will sometimes do is turn off the music and try to appreciate that particular trick with the sound and the beat and the rhythm in mind, if only to see if perhaps it offers me another way of thinking about how to interpret or pull off that particular move. Oh, this is a good one. Chris, what are your common juggle failure traps? What kinds of things kind of make you feel like your juggling practice is not going well? And I guess a part of that would be, and so what do you do when that happens? Well, first thing is, I guess, yeah, got to think about what makes a practice feel lousy. I know for me, for example, I need to have enough sleep. I need at least a good 7 hours of sleep for anything in my life, really, but if I want to try to work on something with any solid, real attempt, I need to be well rested. So I know if I come out and I've only gotten a few hours of sleep, it might be fun to practice, but I better not give it my all in the sense of I'm going to really try to nail that 6-ball trick on that particular occasion. So I need enough sleep. Secondly, for me, I notice that I got to have the right fuel in my body. I'm the kind of person who can't just have like a piece of toast and a cup of coffee and be ready to go for an hour and a half. And there's nothing to me more irritating and frustrating than when I come out and realize 30 minutes into a practice session that really I should have had a better breakfast. What I always insist for myself is that I end that practice session on some kind of positive, good note. So if I've been working on 7-ball cascade, which I frankly can't do, and I have one of those days where I really can't do it, then you know what? I'll put those props down and I will go over and try to run at least 25 catches of 5 clubs, or get a decent run of 6 rings. I always end in some way where the props are thrown and land in my hand, and then I put them away on the shelf. Because to me there'd be nothing worse than feeling crummy about a practice session and just throwing them on the ground and saying, ah, forget it, I'm out of here. Because then, I don't know, maybe it's hokey, but for my taste, I don't know, I feel like this space would be filled with negative energy. I don't want that when I come back in the next time.